Relatively 50% before you are eligible to move from primary 6 to GSS1.
Okay.
On the other hand, once the examination is written, they have an opportunity of writing that examination again.
Okay.
So that for those of them who maybe they weren't around or were not just ready for it that day, they had done that, and we had compiled the result. And the result from this year was better than last year. Okay. So that's, and then we can plan. You know the number we are planning for, number of furniture to provide, number of teachers to train, number of infrastructure to build, number of classrooms to provide, number of books to provide. So it has been a wonderful, that leg of it.
Okay.
And then the other reform I introduced was the fact that you must do screening tests. It's an acid test to ensure that before you write your mock, how ready are we? Okay. And in the process, we discovered that some subjects we need more intervention, so we introduced Saturday coaching. Okay. So Saturday coaching for those who are in SS3 now is compulsory. Okay. And maybe that was why our results are headed north, apart from any other thing. So in addition, I told them that you must come to school 90% of time and remain in school. Otherwise, I won't promote you. It doesn't matter how brilliant you are. You must be in school. You cannot be roaming about the streets. And that's why you've seen less of them on the streets. I said parents must come to parents' phone when they are invited 50% of time. Otherwise, I will not promote their wards or children, because they can't abdicate their responsibility.
Abandon the children.
And abandon them, because they need to know what their children are doing. Moral, ethics is their responsibility to do. And then you leave the rest for government to handle.
Okay. Okay, fantastic. So you are confirming to us that the results...
No, it's not Uhuru. We're not there yet, but at least we're on the way.
What's your policy on science and technology education?
Well, what we're thinking about as government is technical and vocational education. That I took it on board as a policy trust, and I became interested in it. And I adopted my 5 technical colleges, and I've gone virtually everywhere to ensure that we have international best practices. Okay. In fact, we had an enterprise day that His Excellency was there to declare open. He spoke to the children, he inspired them, he motivated them. Okay. So and he told them that it's not an inferior form of education. It's just a means to an end, like the other one is a means to an end. You just have to use your hands and your heads in addition. So even for them, they are better product, because you can use your hand, you can use your head. And we know that any serious government administration should be looking at science, technical and vocational, and drive entrepreneurship. And that was why on that Enterprise Day, he has institutionalized it and said, July 23rd, every year, is going to be an Enterprise Day in Lagos State. Okay. And our children, when they come out, they're going to have a job to do, because Lagos is doing massive development in terms of infrastructure. So those are veritable human resources for us to plow back into what we are doing as government. Okay,
let's take a final time out and having a fascinating discussion with the Lagos State Commissioner for Education, Mrs. Oladujoye. We'll be right back.
My name is Onyema Kinzago. I live in Lagos, where things are getting better every day.
Our school has just been renovated,
and they give us free notebooks too. Going to school is easier and safer for students like me, because I can cross the highway using the footbridge, and I use the BRT bus, which is fast, convenient and free for students like me. I enjoy looking at the beautiful streets on my way to school, and the many street signs tell me where exactly I am. When I get to Basic 12, the government will pay the fees for my GCE and NECO examinations. I am happy. My mom and dad says all these good things are happening because they pay their taxes. I hope to pay my taxes when I grow up and start working. Have you paid your tax?
Pay your tax. It's your civic responsibility. It's your duty. It's the law.
Welcome back. It's my final segment with the Lagos State Commissioner for Education. We've been having a very illuminating discussion on the management of education in Lagos State, the policies, the programs, and the results that are being recorded. Madam, in this our final segment, let me start with private schools. We've spoken about government, but we know that a large percentage of the schools in Lagos State are the private schools.
You're right.
What are you doing about that sector in terms of regulation, in terms of quality assurance?
I'm interested to know that we have over 12,000 private schools in Lagos State.
Wow.
And when I came on board, my initial take was to go and close down all those schools that I think are not good enough. But on second thoughts, I said, where do I put these children? We are the one that were saying we want to meet our MDG goals by 2015. We are saying every child should be in school. Indeed, in Lagos, we have a yellow card that we're giving to parents, taking them, telling them they go to jail, or we're going to fine them massively if we find their children on the streets. So it's a dilemma for me. So I said, okay, what do I do? So what I want to do, that I'm working on, in conjunction with DFID UK, is to categorize my schools. First of all, I've asked them, all of them, to come and pick a form, free of charge. Let me even know how many of them I have on the database, because I know the 12,000 are the result of a census. Let me practically see them live and direct in terms of forms. That one is ongoing. I intend to categorize them. We're working on it. We established the instruments. We are testing the instruments. We've done about 300 schools in Lagos State, trying to see, and we're looking back and say, we must tropicalize the instruments. Some of them look grandiose, but this is Lagos. So we're working on that. And what I intend to do by categorization is to have grade A schools, grade B schools, grade C, and grade D. And those that fall below the minimum standard will definitely be closed. Even that one is with a caveat. Do I close them? I put the children at home? Do I close? So what I intend to do, this is thinking out of the box, and it's not a policy yet, but it's just my thoughts. But I want to see whether I can make them come into clusters, whether I can make them come into cooperatives, and I agitate for an education bank. Because really and really, if you have a Greek bank, we have this bank, why not education? As fundamental as it is. So I'm thinking about that. I'm working with SPIN, I'm working with DFID, and my take is that this, even those one below the minimum standard, I'll still ask them to come together, make them have access to loans or something, and then ensure that my standard is met. D can come to C, C can come to B, B can come to A. And I'll tell the whole world that these are A schools that has this infrastructure. These are B schools, and then you have a choice as parents to put your children wherever you are. So we're working on that, and before the end of the year, we'd let the public know how far we have gone with that.
Excellent, excellent. The other thing, critical factor that we have not spoken about, well, we alluded to TEPO, the Teachers Establishment and Pensions Office, but we have not really discussed teachers' welfare. Because all of this, it depends on the motivation, the happiness, and the competence of our teachers. What are you doing about that?
We're working hard. My teachers are happy. We have an anthem that I've designed for them. So anytime we get to a function, let's sing our anthems, we sing our anthems. And my own take is that you just have to collaborate with them and take them on board. And we're doing a lot for them. First of all, I told you about the economy. It's about 1 million, 2 million, 3 million. It depends on the size of the schools that we give to principals on monthly basis. So the teachers have access to that fund, and they can do what they like within the SIP that they have designed for themselves in their schools. My teachers are going through massive capacity building, because we know that, like you said, bricks and mortars don't teach. It's teachers that will teach. And what you don't give to them, you can't ask them to give back to the children. So it's otherwise it's going to be garbage in, garbage out. So with TEPO, we're training. With SPIN, we're training. With economy, we're training. With establishments, we're training. So they have about 6 veritable means of training, and they're undergoing training. In fact, some of them just came back from Australia. Some of them are in Ghana as we speak. Some of them went to Kenya this year. So you can't even imagine the kind of training we are giving our teachers, both locally and internationally.
Excellent. I'm happy to hear that. Finally, you had an education summit, May 21 to 22nd, just very recently. What were you trying to achieve, and what were the outcomes of that, and what can we expect as a result of that summit?
We had one summit 2 years ago. So we're saying, how far have we gone with that, the implementation of that? We looked at the scorecard, and we saw that to a very large extent, that summit was an eye-opener. So we said, okay, if that was an eye-opener and we've been able to get to this stage, let's put another summit in place. First of all, we're able to assess ourselves, tell the world this is our assessment. And then secondly, what is happening all over the world. His Excellency and myself and some other people we've been to India, we've been to UK, we've been to Dubai.
I saw the Dubai visit.
All to ensure that education meets international best practices. And that is why we said, okay, rather than going out, let's invite them. So we have people from Canada, we have people from India, all over the world, to come, even from Ghana, come and tell us, are we doing it right? Do a critical assessment of us. We gave them the platform to do it, and they did it. And they came up with, okay, you could do better in this. This is better to you for you to do. So we're collating the outcomes of the education summit. And then I can assure you that by the time we do the next summit, we would have moved forward in terms of the outcomes of this summit.
Excellent, great stuff. Thank you very much, Madam, for coming on the Policy Council and for the great work you're doing in education in Lagos State.
It's my pleasure being here. I thank you for having me.
We'll be right back. That was a very interesting discussion. Education is fundamental to societal development. My discussions with the Commissioner have touched on the key elements of that: infrastructure, teachers and their welfare, curriculum, science and technology. And all of that, happily, is receiving attention in Lagos State. But there is still a lot to be done. We must, as the ministry aspires, continue to aim for a day in which education in Lagos State, and indeed in the whole of Nigeria, can be properly benchmarked against the best of global standards. That is the goal, and it is a tall order, but it's something that can be done. Thank you very much for watching. See you next time.